Okay, welcome, Stock Market Technical Analysis. We're going to get right into the charts, look at what's going on. We're going to look at some various trade ideas, and we'll wrap up. So if you're new, leave me a thumbs up. And also if you're interested in learning about technical analysis, how to use the charts and how to read the charts, take my course. Link is in the description below. All right, so we'll start out with triple Qs, which is tech. We're up. We're at all-time highs in the tech sector. And there's no indication yet that we're going to reverse, or that there's a trend reversal. Now we do have a new divergent high. So right here on the daily chart, I have it kind of marked out. But if I get rid of the lines, you can see this high that we made is higher than the previous high right here. And yet, if I bring my lines back, you can see that as I scroll out, the momentum, see the RSI, the PPO, how it's just slightly lower momentum than the previous. So there's your momentum. It's basically an equal amount of momentum on the RSI, but still equal or lower is negative divergence. Now it's not confirmed yet. If we continue higher in the Qs in price, then the momentum is likely going to continue higher, and we're going to start to burn through these negative divergences. So what you'd look for now at this point is for the momentum to start to turn down, and as you zoom in, you want to see the RSI start to turn down and the PPO start to turn down. All right. Until that happens, we don't have any confirmation on the negative divergence. So what does that mean? Well, it just means that we're moving higher, and there's no indication yet that we're going to reverse. Although there is the potential for negative divergence to continue and extend. So what are we looking for on the hourly? Well, on the hourly, I've got this bearish rising wedge right here on the hourly. You can see we've had several reactions on the top, and on the bottom, not the best on the lower. I mean, I could mark it like this. We'd get maybe a few more. But I'm going to give it kind of the benefit of the doubt right here and just do that one and that one. So again, not my favorite lower trend line on this hourly. Ideally, what I'd look for is some sort of an impulsive breakdown or sell signal right now to confirm the negative divergences that we have on the daily. All right, and that would turn this RSI down and the PPO down. If we don't get that, then we're going to burn through these and we're going to continue higher. So no action on my part. I'm not taking any action. There's no trade that I'm initiating. I'm not short triple Qs or anything like that. But I am interested in establishing a short soon if we get those setups happening. Again, I don't want to be long right up here. I mean, yeah, there might be some more upside, but ideally you want to be long down here when you get bullish divergences, and you want to start to look for shorts as you start breaking to new highs. Doesn't mean I'm going to short though. All right, there's a difference between looking for a short and actually taking a short, and right now I'm just looking. All right. SPY, on the SPY, we're again all-time new highs, continuing to kind of grind higher. The divergences are the negative divergences here on the PPO, still intact. On the RSI, still intact there as well. We're making kind of equal high. Even if I move this down, you can see it's kind of an equal high. So you're going to want to start to slightly higher high, but just barely, but still lower than up here. So same thing. There's no short. I'm not taking a short, but I'm looking for a short. So what I'm looking for is the PPO. I can go ahead and get rid of these circles. I'm looking for the RSI and the PPO to start to turn down. All right. And then that should come with some sell signals as well. If that doesn't happen, then we're likely going to continue higher. If we continue higher right now on the SPY, I've got the upper band. If I go all the way back to the weekly chart, this is the upper band of this bull market trend line all the way up here on the SPY. You can see lots of reactions, 1, 2, 3, lots in here. And the SPY might want to trade all the way up to that, which is a move up to about 440 or so. And from where we're at now, that's a move of another, we'll call it 6%. So there is the potential for 5 or 6% to the upside if this continues higher. One thing to look at, so the SPY is, up 0.2%, you know, almost 0.3%, not much. You look at the RSP, which is the equal weighted S&P 500. So that's basically placing equal weighting on every single stock in the S&P 500. And you know, the FANG stocks are really heavily weighted. So Microsoft, Apple, those FANG stocks, those are really heavily weighted in the S&P 500. But you'll see the equal weighted, if you take out the FANGs, is actually down today. So there's actually, you know, minus the FANG stocks, there's actually some kind of minor weakness in the S&P 500. So again, that's just showing that there's not a lot of breadth in this move today. It's really mostly based on the FANG stocks, and I just want to point that out. So usually when you start to see rallies start to fizzle out, then you know the breadth starts to retreat and you don't get as wide of a participation in the rally. Also, let's look at financials here. Starting to break a little bit. So here's the XLF, and this is the hourly trend line right here, this uptrend line. Starting to break below. It's not that impulsive though. I usually like to see when something breaks down, I like to see it really, I like to see the selling really come in. And you'll see it on your chart when it actually happens. You know, it'll be impulsive selling that just flushes down. That's not really what this is. So, yeah, I'm not interested in shorting this thing yet. These financials until I see a little more impulsive selling come in. On the financials, you look at the daily here, and yeah, we have negative divergence. Even if I get rid of this one, you can see right here. There's your negative divergence. It is turning down as well. So let me zoom this in. Here's the RSI. See how it's turning down? That's what you're looking for to confirm that negative divergence. So you have a downtrend now. And if you look at the price, we made just a slightly higher price. So this is a divergent high price right up in here. And we're just now starting to break the trend line, but not impulsive yet. So I'm looking for that impulsive sell signal, and then likely that I'll probably initiate a short position in this one, looking to short it down to about $30. So that's a trade setup. I am looking for that trigger, the trade trigger or the entry. I just don't see it quite yet. And small caps still holding that support line right there on the daily at about 220.50. They keep dipping below it intraday, trying to whip people around, but ultimately it's still holding that support line. So until you see some impulsive breakdown and really a daily close, you look at the hourly, they just keep kind of dipping below it and recovering it. So I don't see any trade there yet until you see an impulsive break of that level. And likely, the small caps has a lot of financials in it. It's pretty heavily weighted in the financials. So we might get a breakdown in the small caps if the financials break down. So I'm watching that XLF as my tell. Take a look at the dollar today. Now, the day hasn't closed yet, but intraday we are dipping below this 92 level. It's not that impulsive yet. Ideally, you'd like to see it a little more impulsive, but it is below there. And 92, that was kind of former support right in here. We broke, and then it was resistance. We broke back above, but now back below. So it could be a false breakout. Could be they made it look like the dollar was going to rise and run up to this 97, but it's breaking back down. So we'll just watch that. If the dollar continues to sell off and get weak, that should be good for gold. So we look at gold, still kind of holding that resistance line right there at 1750. So that's really the next level of resistance you want to see break to the upside, 1750. I think it's going to, to me, as far as I can tell, we had bullish divergence down here. We've started to get a trend reversal. We see the bullish momentum. That's what created the divergence. And we're starting to trend up. So I'm looking for gold to break to the upside. It just hasn't done it yet. One thing about these FANGs that's interesting, I was looking through some of them. Google's kind of the most interesting one, but you can see we've made a new higher high, obviously, right here, just kind of broken out. And yet this high that we've made is on lower momentum. See the PPO and the RSI right here is lower momentum. So that's a negative divergence on Google, which tells me that we have a likelihood or a higher probability that this high price is going to fail and we're going to break down. So something to watch for. You know, if you wanted to look for it, you could look at the hourly. Yeah, I mean, we have a little bit of a support shelf right here. I'd probably look for a break of this right about there, which is 2,218.50. That would likely usher in lower prices. You know, and just to point it out, here's the RSI. See how we've started to turn down on the RSI right here? That's confirming that negative divergence. There's the downtrend in momentum, and yet price is making a new higher high. So take it for what it is. Negative divergence isn't a reason to just short. It's just an indication that you have a higher probability of reversing or selling off. So we'll watch that. Snap here, just kind of reviewing this one. So as much as the fangs are rallying, Snap isn't able to really break above this resistance. It's tested it for the last 4 days. You can see we tested it here, 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 here. So the last 4 days, and we just haven't been able to break above it. So it's holding as resistance. And here's your uptrend line right there. Broke trend right there. We're back testing. I still think there's a high probability we're going to roll over and work our way down to fill this gap at 29.50. You can see the negative divergence is in place. So it's indicating that we're reversing trend to the downside. And again, I don't see any technical indication that that's going to change. You know, if we break this and break to the upside, then yeah, that can change. But as of right now, it's holding. All right, so Tesla's breaking, you know, Tesla's having a pretty good move today, up 7, you know, almost 8%. Again, I'm not short this thing. I talked about covering my short a while ago, and really, I've got this uptrend line right here. We've just been walking up that uptrend line, so I wouldn't want to short till I see a break of that trend. And as of right now, you know, I don't see it. So Tesla could obviously run up and make a new high. And we have resistance right up here. Next level of resistance really looks to be at about 780, 81. You know, and that is, you know, that's the next level of resistance where I think we're likely going to start to fail and get rejected. But yeah, that's it. Really just moving up to that resistance line right now. Someone asked me about APPS, which is Digital Turbine, APPS. Again, it's just, you know, hasn't done its move yet. It's just kind of treading water. But you've got the uptrend line right here. That trend has not been recovered. This is just, to me, looks like you know, we're kind of topping out. We broke trend right here. There's your break of trend, and we back tested several days. And we're just, you know, and then impulsively selling off, and we're just rallying up. I think it's likely we're just going to be range bound sideways until we break to the downside. Top of the range, yeah, I guess it's probably right up there at about 95.50. Bottom of the range is about 65.22. So, you know, looks like we're just range bound, going to hit the top, work our way down to the bottom, and just chop around until ultimately I think we break to the downside. And that's because of this big negative divergence that's here on the daily chart. So the momentum is drying up and trending down, and price just hasn't got the memo yet, although price isn't going up anymore. So the first, you know, if you're going to start a downtrend and from an uptrend, you know, typically the first step to starting a downtrend is to stop going up. And that's what this thing's really, you know, doing right now. It's not going up anymore. It's just kind of going sideways. So again, I think we're going to continue to the downside on this. And I'm still short. You know, I'm going to remain short until I see a technical break to the upside. And if we break to the downside, I'll look to start covering as we run it, you know, start to take profit. Quick look at Lennar, the home builder. So again, pointed it out. We have a bearish rising wedge. I've talked about this one for a few days now. Bearish rising wedge broke. Not that impulsive, and then we did a back test right there. So that was your short opportunity, this back test. That's the objective area to get short right there. And since then, it's you know, it's down, it's dropped from that back test. It's down about 2, you know, almost 3%. Not impulsively dropping yet, but you know, we are dropping. And again, this one on the daily clean negative divergence on the PPO and the RSI, and we broke trend, back tested, and now I'm looking at it to continue down. All right, so first level of support, 90, about 93 is what I'm looking at. We might find some support right here at 95. That was kind of a former high. We can mark that out just in case we get something right there. But again, I'm looking at more downward price action. And from where we're at now, a drop of another 7% or so down to that level. And that 93 level is about 10%, 9.5%. So we're looking at that to continue to the downside. So far, it's working. So someone asked me to look at the agricultural input sector. I'm personally long coffee right now. I bought that right down here at the back test of this trend line right in here. I bought it at 35.38. I talked about it on the video, but again, I used Joe, and so far that thing's up 650. Again, this is very similar as a gold miner kind of play when it comes to the inflation play. There's definitely an inflation play going on right now where, I mean, you just look at any of you look at any commodity for the most part, and they're just ripping to the upside. And so that's kind of what the play is, at least for me as well. And yeah, so but we can look at, this is the one they want to look at, SMG. And the thing is, a lot of these have already run pretty hard, these ag input stocks. So we've got an uptrend line right there on SMG on your daily chart. We have clean negative divergence right there, starting to turn down as well. You can see the RSI starting to turn down, the PPO starting to turn down. Here's the PPO starting to get a crossover, bearish cross right there. And we're breaking. So if you look at the 1 hour chart, yeah, I don't see a level I'd track clean. I mean, you have a little bit of a level right there. I would probably, I think it's very possible we come back down to this trend line. That's going to be a drop of another 15%. I think that's likely. Doesn't mean it's going to just drop straight down, though. We could drift sideways and meet up with this trend line in the future, somewhere around here. What I'd really be looking for is a break of this trend line. Otherwise, I would just stay long. If it's not going to break this trend line, I would just stay long until you see a sell signal on that trend line. Someone asked me to analyze Shopify. Again, so we had this on Shop on the daily chart. You had this trading range right here. You can see it. We bounced off it. We broke to the upside. And once we broke to the upside, we really held that upper trend line as support. Couple dips below it. We dipped below the 200, but we're back above it. So really, that's your support line. It's about 1,114, give or take a little bit. And, we're above it, breaking above. We do have negative divergence right here. So this was your divergent high all the way up here, and right up in there. That was your divergent high where you had a high probability of failing. And, you mark out the hourly, and there was your breakdown. And you did fail, you broke down. But again, we haven't broken the trend line down here. So what could happen? Well, you could run up and make a new high and put it and continue this negative divergence. Or you could break the trend line. Right here in this area, it's kind of no man's land. I wouldn't be interested in taking a position here. If I was long, you could just stay long until you see a break of the trend line, an impulsive break. But again, a lot of whipsaws around that trend line. You can see they whipped it here, dipped it, they keep dipping it below and then recovering it. So it's kind of chopping you to death. I would prefer to just look at a different stock. That's what I would do with a chart that's a little cleaner and doesn't have as much chop in it. But you've got negative divergence. It's intact. It hasn't been negated. You did actually, let me take that back. Recently, let me get rid of this. You did put in some bullish divergence right. I just want to point this out right here. See that bullish divergence? So that is when the momentum started to move higher, and yet the price, this low, was a higher low right there. So you got to look out for those. When you have negative divergence and you start to see the opposite, which would be a bullish divergence, then that indicates that maybe likely that downtrend is finished. So here was your downtrend, here's your bullish divergence, that, you know, and we're starting to see upward price momentum. So yeah, this could run up and make a new high, and I would probably put a little more probability in the fact that it would do that. Okay, I don't see a whole lot more I don't see much going on today. I just pointed out, obviously, tech is rallying. It's really the FANG stocks. And when I look at the S&P 500 heat map, I can kind of pull that up real quick. You know, it's basically, it's mostly Tesla and Apple is really doing a lot of the lifting. You can see it's mostly these FANG stocks rallying today. And not too much of, the rest of the market's kind of treading water. So I'm looking for how these financials are going to behave and if they're going to break down. If the financials break down, we might start to see a break in the small caps. Possibly the S&P 500 might start to break down. Interest rates are easing off a little bit. If we go here real quick and look at the, well, we can just look at the TNX. You can see interest rates kind of coming back. We're kind of, easing off a little bit. Nothing crazy. So, yeah, that's really all I see. Just not a whole lot, but a couple trade ideas that are working, couple setups to watch for, and I will catch you guys on the next video.